reggae icon. Jimmy Cliff, one of the most influential musical figures to emerge from Jamaica, has died at the age of 81. His passing marks the end of a global cultural era, but for his family, it signifies a much more personal loss. As they come to terms with the emotional weight of his legacy, they say the fortune he left behind is not measured merely in money, but in the depth of his values, his love, and the life he built around them. And that, they admit, is what truly makes them cry. Jimmy Cliff's wife, Latifah Chambers, announced his death in a heartfelt statement shared on his official Instagram account. Her words immediately captured the attention of millions of fans around the world. "It's with profound sadness that I share that my husband, Jimmy Cliff, has crossed over due to a seizure followed by pneumonia," she wrote. She thanked the family, friends, artists, and fans who had walked beside him throughout his extraordinary journey. Her message ended with a deeply emotional farewell. "Jimmy, my darling, may you rest in peace. I will follow your wishes." Their children, Lilty and Aiken, signed the statement alongside their mother. It was a simple gesture, but one that reflected the unity of a family that always stood together. Behind the formal announcement was a private world of grief. They were not just saying goodbye to a legend, but to the gentle, present, and loving father who placed them above everything else. Born James Chambers on July 30th, 1944, in Somerton, St. James, Jamaica, Jimmy Cliff grew up in a household of 9 children. Life was tough, money was scarce, but the home was rich in faith, discipline, and determination. He later described his childhood as loud, competitive, sometimes chaotic, but always filled with resilience. Being the 8th of 9 siblings taught him not only how to keep up, but how to survive. He recalled in a 2012 interview how the older siblings often overpowered the younger ones, how competition for attention was constant, and how the siblings quickly put aside internal fights whenever an outsider tried to divide them. Those early lessons in loyalty, unity, and endurance would later become the foundation of the family he built as an adult. At 14, he moved to Kingston. It was there that he adopted the name Jimmy Cliff and recorded his first major hit, Hurricane Hattie. From those early days in the Jamaican music scene, Cliff emerged as one of the defining voices of a new genre that would soon sweep the world, reggae. He became a cultural force, helping to shape the sound and soul of a movement that would later grow into one of Jamaica's greatest contributions to global music. But despite all of his fame, Jimmy Cliff repeatedly emphasized that his most meaningful accomplishments happened far from the spotlight. Raised Christian, later embracing Islam, and eventually settling into his own personal spiritual philosophy, Cliff said that he did not raise his children with strict religious rules. Instead, he raised them on principles: what is right, what is wrong, how to treat others, and how to live with humility. He once said, "Family means everything to me. I have a career, which is important, but my family is the priority. First family, and then career." It's a delicate balance. His family says he lived exactly as he spoke. Even during his busiest touring years, he made sure they felt seen, safe, and always loved. The wealth he accumulated over decades in the global music industry never overshadowed the emotional wealth he tried to build inside his own home. That is why, when the family gathered to reflect on what he left behind, their tears flowed not because of the financial fortune, but because the true weight of his legacy was love. He lived for them, and now, in his absence, they feel the full depth of it. Jimmy Cliff's impact on the world began long before he became a household name. His starring role as Ivanhoe Ivan Martin in the 1972 film The Harder They Come is still considered one of the most important cinematic moments in Jamaican history. The film brought international visibility to Jamaican music and Jamaican life. Cliff once shared that the character of Ivanhoe was based on a real figure he heard stories about as a child. He said that the filmmaker, Perry Henzell, wanted to portray Ivan not as a villain, but as the kind of anti-hero Hollywood had long embraced. Songs like Many Rivers to Cross, You Can Get It If You Really Want, and The Harder They Come became anthems across borders. They spoke of hardship, persistence, and hope. Alongside Bob Marley and Toots Hibbert, Jimmy Cliff became one of the pillars of reggae's worldwide rise. His induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2010 recognized his role as reggae's first champion. But while the world celebrates him as a star, his family describes him differently. At home, they say, he was gentle, thoughtful, and grounded. He believed in personal growth, in emotional honesty, and in the power of kindness. He valued quiet mornings, simple meals, heartfelt conversations, and the feeling of togetherness. These were the riches he considered priceless. And now, after his passing, these are the riches his family holds close. The fortune that brings tears to their eyes, the love he gave them, the guidance he offered, the humility he modeled, the stability he built, and the knowledge that he never let fame pull him away from what mattered most. As fans around the world continue to reflect on his life, tributes are pouring in from musicians, actors, cultural leaders, and everyday people who grew up on his music. His songs, his voice, and his spirit are woven into the memories of generations. His influence shaped not only reggae, but the identity of Jamaica itself. Yet, behind the scenes, his family grieves in a more private way. They remember the father who insisted on checking in even when he was on tour, the husband who made time for quiet evenings at home, the man who reminded them that integrity mattered more than applause. They remember him not for the stages he stood on, but for the small moments that shaped their lives. In the coming days, more details about how he will be honored are expected to be shared. Public celebrations will undoubtedly follow as the world pays respect to an artist whose contributions remain unmatched. But for now, the family's focus is on holding each other close, leaning on the values he taught them, and navigating the difficult path of grief. Jimmy Cliff's life was defined by extraordinary achievements, but the true story lies in the man beneath the celebrity, the father who balanced fame with responsibility, the husband who valued loyalty and faith, the individual who lived with purpose and intention. He was born into poverty and died as one of the most respected cultural figures of his generation. But the real fortune he left behind cannot be counted. It exists in the emotional strength of his family, in the unity he nurtured, in the lessons he passed down, and in the endless love they now carry without him. As the world mourns the loss of an icon, his family mourns the loss of their home's guiding light. And when they speak of the fortune he left behind, their voices tremble not because of the wealth he earned, but because of the man he was. A man whose greatest masterpiece was not his music, but his family. Jimmy Cliff leaves behind a legacy that will echo for generations, a legacy of culture, of courage, of perseverance, and above all, a legacy of love. May he rest in eternal peace.